Good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to the Redux episode of Before Coffee. It's Good Tuesday News Day here, and we're trying to keep positive as we cover all the great things are happening in healthcare, and I guess for some people, music. Because there's a lot of good news when it comes to healthcare. Now, this is Before Coffee, the father and daughter podcast, comprehensive news of planet Earth, where we cover the news 10 to 15 minutes before we start, and we have no caffeine in our bodies. Let's check out these headlines and see what we're talking about again today. Today on Before Coffee, European patients begin receiving world's first lung cancer vaccine in revolutionary new trial.
And shells to sweaters, as we can start making wool out of oyster shells. And in more mollusk news, cone snail poison is deadly but may lead to diabetes medicine.
Coming out of the Netherlands, Dutch Data Protection Authority hits Uber with €290 million fine for violating EU data protection rules.
Copying Spain's wealth tax could raise upwards of $2 trillion. And classical music lifts our mood by synchronizing parts of the brain.
In culture news, that's right, Oasis has reunited. They're confirmed for a UK and Ireland tour in 2025.
And it's national just because, and that's Oasis is reuniting just because on August 27, 2024 on Before Coffee.
It's time for us to talk about lung cancer. Yes, and how we may be able to cure it with this revolutionary new vaccine. This is coming off of Euronews Health with Iman El Itala. A lung cancer patient in the UK has become one of the first to participate in a groundbreaking trial for the world's first vaccine against the disease. A patient in the UK is among the first. The lung cancer is a leading cause of cancer death worldwide, responsible for approximately 1.8 million deaths in 2020. Of these, nearly 250,000 people, around 230,700, are from the EU alone, representing nearly 1 in 5 cancer deaths in the region. The vaccine, known as BNT1116 and developed by BioNTech, utilizes messenger RNA mRNA technology similar to some COVID-19 vaccines to help immune system recognize and attack cancer cells. The world's first jab is designed to target non-small cell lung cancer, NSCLC, which makes up 85% of all lung cancer cases. It works by presenting the patient's immune system with information about common tumor markers associated with NSCLC. This specific targeting aims to destroy cancer cells while minimizing damage to healthy cells, in contrast to the effects of chemotherapy, which just nukes your lungs into orbit. The strength of the approach we are taking is that the treatment is aimed at being highly targeted towards cancer cells. In this way, we hope that in time we're able to show the treatment is effective against lung cancer while leaving other tissues untouched. Sarah Banoff, who is leading the delivery of the study, said in a statement. This groundbreaking study will involve about 130 patients with various stages of NSCLC, ranging from early stages before the surgery or radiotherapy to late stages diseases across 34 research sites in 7 countries. So that's a lot. 7 countries are participating from all over the Europe. Okay. As well as the UK, the trial is being rolled out in 4 other European countries: Germany, Spain, Poland, and Hungary, as well as the United States and Turkey. We hope that this will provide an opportunity to further improve outcomes to our NSCLC patients, whether in the early or advanced stages, Professor Xiao Ming Li, who leads the UK study, said. Jesus Rast, a 67-year-old scientist from London, is the first participant in the UK to receive the new experimental vaccine. Diagnosed with lung cancer in May, Ross began undergoing chemotherapy and radiotherapy soon after. In a recent statement, he said he was hopeful that the vaccine would provide defense against cancer cells, adding, "I also thought my participation in this research could help other people in the future. and contribute to making this therapy more widely available. Ratz, who specializes in artificial intelligence, AI, noted that his scientific background encouraged him to take part in the trial. As a scientist myself, I know that science can only advance if people agree to participate in programs like this. I work in artificial intelligence and I am open to trying new things. My family did research about the trial too. They supported me in taking part, he said. Dame Callie Palmer, NHS's England National Cancer Director, said the testing cancer vaccine could be revolutionary in preventing the recurrence of the disease by vaccinating individuals against their own cancers. The cancer diagnosis is very worrying, but access to groundbreaking trials, alongside other innovations to diagnose and treat cancers earlier, provides hope, Palmer said. We expect to see thousands more patients taking part in trials over the next few years. So there's your news coming out of the European Union and also the UK and the US and Turkey. They're all doing this trial with 130 different patients. So hopefully in a year, we can find out if we have succeeded in finding a vaccine for lung cancer. I think you're muted.
Oh.
Yeah, there you are.
More good news on Good News News Day. We have from the Good News Network, Andy Corbally. Shells to sweaters. Sustainable seawool earns millions for Taiwan business spinning oyster shells into yarn. A man in Taiwan is helping reduce fashion waste by creating a sustainable alternative to artificial textiles from an already existing waste stream. He's using oyster shells, which when ground up and processed can produce a flexible yarn similar to sheep's wool that's been appropriately dubbed seawool. There's the hiccups. According to the Taiwanese Department of Agriculture, 160,000 metric tons of mollusk shells are discarded annually from restaurants and fishing businesses. This isn't necessarily waste material, as many fisheries have a policy to dump discarded shells into oyster reefs. The shells are made up of 95% calcium carbonate, which is the perfect ingredient to repair and grow living oyster reefs, as it greatly increases the number of surfaces the oyster larvae can glom onto. Eddie Wang grew up in western Taiwan, where oysters and other shellfish have long been profitable and delicious local industry. The South China Morning Post reports that Wang first got the idea to turn shells into a thread from a lower-income locals who used crushed oysters to insulate their homes. It was a great idea, as it turns out, and materials scientists were keen to work with Wang to develop the industry and make it competitive with existing garment production. Today, Wang's factory manufactures 900 tons of seawool thread every year and earning $6 million gross. The top relevant results for a search on Google of seawool clothes turns up a large menswear outlet in Huckberry, whose line of gorgeous seawool sweaters are priced very competitively with real wool sweaters of similar weave and texture. Being that oysters are calcium carbonate, a product used in many different industries, powdered oyster shells can be used to replace limestone and quarrying, the main source of calcium carbonate and a large source of emissions and pollution. Also a good fertilizer. And other mollusk news, we're going to go to the snail kingdom. And we're going to talk about cone snails. This is from Good News Network also, without Andy Corbley's name on it. Deadly poison from cone snails could be newfound key to making better drugs to treat diabetes, according to a new study. The toxin from one of the most venomous creatures on the planet may also lead to new medicines for additional conditions caused by hormone disorders, said researchers. They identify the component within the venom of the Conus geographus that mimics a human hormone called somatostatin, which regulates the levels of blood sugar and other hormones in the human body. The team, led by scientists from the University of Utah in the United States, said the somatostatin-like toxin helps the snail hunt its prey. In humans, somatostatin acts like a brake pedal for many processes in the body, preventing levels of blood sugar, several hormones, and many other important molecules from rising dangerously high. The cone snail toxin, called consomatin, works similarly, but Consomatin is more stable and specific than the human hormone, which makes it a promising blueprint for drug design, according to results published in the journal Nature Communications. By measuring how consomatin interacts with somatostatin's targets in human brain cells in a dish, the researchers discovered that consomatin interacts with one of the same proteins that somatostatin does. Importantly, though, while somatostatin directly interacts with several proteins, chemostatin only interacts with one. Such a fine-tuned targeting means that the cone snail toxin affects hormone-determined blood sugar levels, but not the levels of several other molecules. They concluded that the cone snail toxin was more precisely targeted than most specific synthetic drugs designed to regulate hormone levels, such as drugs that regulate the growth hormone. Although the snail toxin may be dangerous to use as a therapeutic, the study of its structure could lead to the design of safe drugs for endocrine disorders. Consomatin lasts for longer in the body than the human hormone due to the inclusion of unusual amino acid that makes it difficult to break down. Studying that feature would be useful to pharmaceutical researchers looking to make drugs that will have long-lasting effects. Senior Professor Helena Safavi of the University of Utah says the toxin's precision can be extraordinarily useful when treating disease. Venomous animals have, through evolution, fine-tuned venom components to hit a particular target in the prey and disrupt it. If you take one individual component out of a venom mixture, look at how it disrupts normal physiology, that pathway is often really relevant in disease. She described it as a bit of a shortcut for medical chemists because consomatin shares a evolutionary lineage with somatostatin, but over millions of years of evolution, the cone snail has turned its own hormone into a weapon. Consomatin's deadly effects hinge on its ability to prevent blood sugar levels from rising. It lowers the level of blood sugar so quickly that the cone snail's prey becomes non-responsive. Then, its second component keeps blood sugar levels from recovering. We think the cone snail developed this highly selective toxin to work together with insulin-like toxin to bring down blood glucose to a really low level, said Dr. Ho Yan Young of the University of Utah, the study's lead author. She explained that the fact that several parts of the cone snail's venom target blood sugar regulation hints that it could include many other molecules that do similar things. It means that there might not only be insulin and somatostatin-like toxins in the venom, there could also be other toxins that have glucose-regulating properties too, according to Dr. Young. It may seem surprising that a snail is able to outperform the best human chemists in drug design, but Professor Safavi says that the cone snails have evolutionary time on their side. We've been trying to do medical chemistry and drug development for a few hundred years, sometimes badly. Cone snails have had a lot of time to do it really well, and they're just really good chemists. There's your cone snail story. There's your mollusk wrap-up for the week. Back to you. The old mollusk wrap-up.
Okay, so we learned about taking care of mollusks' shells and repurposing them, and then also helping people with slug venom. Or no, snail venom, sorry, not slugs.
Yeah, snails.
Okay.
Snails.
Yeah, the cone snail. Well, coming out of the EU, we've got a corporation taking the punishment they deserve for breaking their regulations. That's right. This is from Julia Tarr and Theo Bergery Gons on Eurocitiv. The Dutch Data Protection Authority, DPA, fined Uber for transferring European taxi drivers' personal data to the US without proper protection for over 2 years, violating the EU's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, and the authority announced on Monday, August 26th. The data included sensitive information like account details, taxi licenses, location data, photos, payment details, identity documents, and criminal and medical records. Dutch DPA Chairman Alid Wolfson said that while the GDPR ensures strong protection of personal data within Europe, such safeguards are not guaranteed outside the EU, particularly in countries where governments have broad data access. However, A commission spokesperson told Eurocitiv that all companion companies operating in the EU are expected to fully adhere to EU data protection regulations. This is because the GDPR applies to any company that processes EU residents' personal data, even if the company is based outside the EU, such as Uber, which is headquartered in the US. Moreover, the regulation requires companies to protect personal data and use legal safeguards for transfers outside the EU, with non-compliance risking fines up to 4% of global revenue. I love a fine that's based off of global revenue. Uber was fined a historic 290 million euros, close to 1% of its global 34.5 billion revenue in 2023. This is the company's third fine from the Dutch DPA, following previous fines of 600,000 euros in 2018 and 10 million euros in 2023, which Uber has contested. Third strike and you're out is clearly the largest fine ever imposed on Uber in the EU. In fact, the largest fine ever imposed by the Dutch DPA. Mathieu de Graaf, lawyer at the NGO NOB, the European Centre for Digital Rights, told Eurocitiv. The Dutch Supervisory Authority began investigating Uber in 2021. After over 170 French drivers complained to the human rights group Ligue des Droits de l'Homme, I feel like I said that better before, which then filed the complaint with the French Supervisory Authority. The French authority passed these complaints on to its Dutch counterpart, which oversees Uber as its main European office is in the Netherlands. The Dutch authority collaborated with the French and other European bodies to decide to fine Uber this year. This decision involved all the EU, Norwegian, and Swiss supervisory authorities except those in Bulgaria, Cyprus, Iceland, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, and Slovenia. The Dutch decision is opening a Pandora's box. Rami Ben Ali, a former Uber driver who spearheaded the complaint by the 170 French Uber drivers, told Eurocitiv, arguing that GDPR compliance and data management are Uber's Achilles heel. The fine could have repercussions on other tech multinationals which transfer data between the US and the EU, he added. 3 more complaints by the same 170 drivers, including one on automatic Uber account disconnections, are currently under scrutiny in Amsterdam. So Uber is getting the hate, and if they can't handle the multinational, maybe they should pull out and go back to the US.
Nah, they're making too much money.
Yeah. They can, yeah, but they're going to keep getting fined if they keep making money. Illegally selling people's data. The news about Uber's GDPR violation also raises questions about transferring personal data from the EU to US. The Data Privacy Shield was a framework that allowed companies to transfer personal data from EU to the US while ensuring protection in 2016. It was designed to replace earlier Safe Harbor Agreement. However, in 2020, the EU's top court invalidated the Privacy Shield in a ruling known as Terms 2. It found that the US laws did not provide the same level of data protection as required by EU standards. The ruling was named after activist and lawyer Max Schrems and his organization NOIB, which challenged the adequacy of the Privacy Shield's data protection. After this ruling, the EU-US Data Privacy Framework replaced the Privacy Shield in 2023 to address these concerns and provide legal safeguards for companies transferring sensitive data. But even before the new framework, companies could use the Standard Contractual Clauses, SCCs, a legal agreement to protect personal data sent from the EU to non-EU countries that follow EU data protection standards. However, here's the kicker. Uber stopped using these standard contractual clauses in August 2021, leading to insufficient data protection. The Dutch DPA found during its investigation, leading to the fine. Now, there's the key word there. They did an investigation and they found that there was insufficient data protection from Uber. Following the fine, of course, Uber issued a statement describing the decision as flawed and completely unjustified. Well, you think these 170 French taxi drivers just came out of nowhere and were like, we're gonna sue Uber, confirming it would appeal the fine. His appeal would suspend the fine until a new ruling is made, potentially taking up to 4 years. So they're just playing the long game. Oh, we'll just make them spend millions in court. Then we won't have to pay anything. Ha 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 ha.
And maybe we'll get a favorable judge.
Yeah. Maybe we'll bribe somebody to let us go scot-free. A spokesperson for California headquartered company told Eurocitiv that EU-US data transfers remained GDPR compliant even after the Privacy Shield was invalidated. The adoption of the 2023 Data Privacy Framework did not lead to any changes in the way personal data was handled, which should attest to the company's robust data management framework, they added. Of course, a whistleblower from Uber has already stated they haven't changed. Uber went all in to break the French taxi sector, all the while dodging taxes and keeping drivers in high levels of precarity. Mark McGann, the Uber Files whistleblower, told Eurocitiv France in an exclusive interview. So, Uber is on the edge, but for 4 years they can waste people's time trying to prove that they haven't broken any laws or just gone against any protections or regulations. And I guess we'll talk to you guys in 2029 for updates on that.
As they make billions more without
when they make trillions by then, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, speaking of wealthy people, this week, this is the good news roundup from Positive.news. Copying Spain's wealth tax to raise at least 1.5 trillion euros, I guess we're talking here. The world could raise $2.1 trillion or 1.5 trillion euros a year by emulating Spain's wealth tax on the richest households, double the sum needed for developing nations to implement their climate change plans by 2030. That's according to research by the Tax Justice Network, the TJN, which found that the richest 0.5% own a quarter of the world's wealth. That's not a lot of people, and that's a lot of wealth. 0.5%. If 0.5% people own 0.5% of the world's wealth, that would be something worth celebrating. Because what do you need all that money for? You don't. It doesn't serve any purpose for some people to hoard all the money. It doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever under the sun. Members of the super rich cohort are taxed on their assets to the tune of 1.7 to 3.5% in Spain, which is not that much.
No.
Considering if you got $1 billion in assets, you're paying 1%. That's $10 million. $10 million.
Ridiculous.
So
money I'll never see in my life, I'm sure.
But they're still going to have $990 million.
Yeah.
In wealth. So, I don't know. I don't think they'll be in the poorhouse anytime soon. Rich people paying taxes is what makes the world go around, because you got to give back that money. I don't care what they think they did to earn that money. They did not earn it. It is just dividends and rent. Anyway, were other nations to follow this example, TJN estimates that on average, each country could raise that equivalent of 7% of its spending budgets. Critics claim that such lower taxes hamper investment and drive rich residents abroad. That's why you need a world tax. And there's no abroad. It's like, Torres, you can't hide. You can go to Mars. You and Elon Musk can all go to Mars. Please go to Mars. Please, just do it. The study authors put current inequalities down in a two-tier tax system which see collective wealth, such as dividends, capital gains, and rent, taxed at lower rates than salaries. That's right. My 20% of my money is gone. I don't even get to look at it. Rich people, they get all their money, and they can just do what they want to with it because we decided that rich people are special somewhere along the line. I don't know why. Means nothing to me if you have money. I don't care. Somebody that tells me how much money they make, I go, I don't care how much money you make. You're still going to die. You're not going to live forever. You're still going to die. How much money you make? I have more money than Michael Jackson, for instance. He has no money whatsoever. Made all kinds of money during his life. Not to pick on Michael Jackson, but what the hell is money doing you at any point other than making other people's lives better? That's what you need to become with money. To make the world a better place. Not, hey, I gotta buy a rocket ship to Mars. The TJN research follows a joint declaration by the G20 finance leader who agreed that the super rich should contribute their fair share in taxes. Even many billionaires want to pay more tax. Well, who's stopping you? Having signed an open letter pleading for as much in January. However, the U.S. is among the nations opposing a global wealth tax. Well, I don't think we're all opposed to it, just the Republican. This needs to change now, said Allison Scholes, research fellow at the TJN. The climate can't wait, and nor can the people of the world. In other good news, classical music lifts our mood. Yes, it does, by synchronizing part of the brain. This is from the Good News Network. Whether Bach, Beethoven, or Mozart, it's widely recognized that classical music can affect a person's mood. Now scientists are using brainwave measurements and neural imaging techniques to show exactly how Western classical music elicits positive effects on the brain. The discovery could lead to effective ways to use music as treatment to activate the brain in people with treatment-resistant depression. Ultimately, we hope to translate our research findings into clinical practice, developing convenient and effective music therapy tools and applications, said Professor Bauman Sun of the Shanghai Jiao Tong University. The study focused on 13 patients with treatment-resistant depression who already had electrodes implanted in their brains for the purpose of deep brain stimulation. The implants are placed in a circuit connecting two areas in the forebrain, the bed nucleus and the stria terminalis, and the nucleus accumbens. Now, the bed nucleus and stria terminalis is abbreviated to BNST, and the nucleus accumbens is abbreviated to NA_c. So I'm going to be using those terms. That's why I'm saying that. Using the implants, the researchers found that music generates its antidepressant effects by synchronizing the neural oscillations between the auditory cortex, which is responsible for processing sensory information, and the reward circuit, responsible for processing emotional information. The BNST-NAC circuit, sometimes referred to as part of the extended amygdala, underscores the close relationship between this circuit and the amygdala, a central structure in the emotional information processing, said Professor Sun, a corresponding author of the paper published in the journal Cell Reports. The study reveals that music introduced triple time locking of neural oscillations in the cortical BNST-NAC circuit through the auditory synchronization. Patients in the study were divided into two groups, low music appreciation or high music appreciation. The research team found that those in the high music appreciation group showed more significant neural synchronization and better antidepressant effects, while those in the low music appreciation group showed poorer results. By grouping the patients, the researchers were able to study the antidepressant mechanisms of music more precisely and propose personalized music therapy plans that would improve treatment results. For example, when inserting theta frequency noise into music to enhance BNST-NAC oscillatory coupling, those in the low music appreciation group of patients reported higher music enjoyment. Several pieces of Western classical music that most participants had no familiarity with were used in the study to avoid any interference that could arise from subjective experience. We concluded that the music choices during the formal listening process were individualized and unrelated to music's emotional background. Now the team plans to study how the interaction between music and the deep structures of the brain play a role in depressive disorders. They also plan to introduce other forms of sensory stimuli, including visual images, to investigate potential combined therapeutic effects of multisensory stimulation on depression. By collaborating with clinicians, music therapists, computer scientists, and engineers, we plan to develop a series of digital health products based on music therapy, such as smartphone applications and wearable devices. These products will integrate personalized music recommendations, real-time emotional monitoring and feedback, and virtual reality multi-sensory experiences to provide convenient and effective self-help tools for managing emotions and improving symptoms in daily life. Here's your story. Music to cure depression. No mystery to me. I've known it all along. Music is great therapy.
I can agree with that because I love listening to music and it makes me feel better.
Oh yeah.
Even if the
Change your
music I'm listening to isn't the happiest, some Alice in Chains isn't exactly the positive mental
even
space.
that doesn't really.
Yeah.
Whatever taps into those centers of happiness, and of course,
Helps
music
you get through the
is
emotions.
one of those music is one of the universal languages.
Yep.
Right? You don't need to translate. Just play
No, you
it.
don't.
And you don't even have to know what they're singing.
No, it's true. I listen to
sounds good.
K-pop all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have no idea what they're saying, but I like the
no idea
vibe,
what
and it
they're-
makes me feel good.
There you go.
So, well,
Something that gets you
more-
slapping your knee.
yeah,
There you
exactly.
go.
Dancing and slapping. In more music news, this may cause some people to be depressed and other people not to be depressed. Oasis has reunited. That's right. Gigs will mark the 16 years since Liam and Noel Gallagher split after a festival bust up, but no plans to make new music. This is from Laura Snapes on The Guardian. Rock's biggest will they won't they finally has an answer. Oasis have announced that they will reunite for a 14-date tour of the UK and Ireland in 2025. They will not, however, be headlining Glastonbury Festival, as was rumored over the weekend, nor playing 10 dates at Wembley and the Etihad Stadium, respectively. Instead, the concerts will take place in July of 2025 and August at stadiums in Cardiff, London, Manchester, Edinburgh, and Dublin. Tickets go on sale at 9 a.m. on the 31st of August, so get that webpage up and start pressing refresh right until 9 a.m. And the prices will be revealed on that day, so don't spend any money on anything because you're probably spending too much money on some tickets. A press release billed the dates as the domestic leg of the tour and said that plans are underway for it to go beyond Europe later in 2025. Of the famously feuding brothers' decision to reunite, the release stated, "There has been no great revelatory moment that has ignited the reunion, just the gradual realization that the time is right." In a joint statement, the band said, "The guns have fallen silent, the stars have aligned, the great wait is over, come see, it will not be televised." The date for the 2025 UK and Ireland tour are 4th and 5th of July, Principality Stadium in Cardiff. The 11th and 12th and 19th and 20th of July in Heaton Park, Manchester. The 25th, 26th of July and the 22nd and 3rd of August at Wembley Stadium. London, the 8th and 9th of August in Murrayfield Stadium, Edinburgh. And 16th, 17th August will be at Croke Park, Dublin. The concerts will come 16 years after the band split, acrimoniously when Noel Gallagher quit before a show at the Fringe Festival, and 30 years since the release of their second album, 1995's What's the Story? Morning Glory. Unlike Liam Gallagher's continuing 30th anniversary tour of the band's 1994 debut, Definitely Maybe, the set list for the 2025 reunion shows will not be explicitly geared around that album. They're just going to play all of their songs because they only have 2 albums. They can just play the whole albums from front to back in order. And then do an encore of Wonderwall. Yeah. The Oasis lineup has not been confirmed. The band also have no plans to re-enter the recording studio to make new music. The Gallagher brothers had been teasing the news on social media in recent days, sharing a clip of the date 27/08/24 in the same font as the Oasis logo on their respective social media accounts, as well as the official Oasis accounts. The clip was also shown at the end of Liam's headline set at Reading Festival last weekend, where he dedicated their 1994 B-side Half the World Away to Noel, and 1994 Cigarettes and Alcohol to people who say they hate Oasis. It was also shown after Blossoms played within Shaw Park in Manchester this weekend. So they've really been hyping it up. Liam is currently touring Definitely Maybe with the guitarist Paul Bonehead Arthurs earlier this year. He and the Stone Roses guitarist John Squire also toured their collaborative album, practically named Liam Gallagher and John Squire. Noel also recently concluded a run of festival dates with his band High Flying Birds. So don't worry, they're still been playing this whole time. They're not, some old decrepit guys who are like, I haven't touched my guitar for 30 years. They're yet to go into greater depth about how they buried the hatchet in the years since Noel walked out at Rog and Ally in 2009. Since then, the brothers have publicly sniped at each other and denied the reunion would ever happen. In recent years, however, relations appear to have softened. In 2017, Liam tweeted Christmas wishes as his brother and said he was looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. This week, in a video to mark the 30th anniversary of Definitely Maybe, Noel praised Liam's singing abilities. When I would sing a song, it would sound good. When he sung it, it sounded great. I can't sing Cigarettes and Alcohol, Rock and Roll Star and all that. I don't have the same attitude as him. My voice is half a Guinness on a Tuesday. It's alright. Liam's is 10 shots of tequila on a Friday. Now that's a compliment. 10 shots of tequila on a Friday. Despite Oasis's inactivity,
I don't think he can sing after that.
The band's legend has not waned. They have 21.6 million monthly listeners on Spotify and command a huge Gen Z audience. I don't know where they got those numbers, but supposedly they have a huge Gen Z audience. Earlier this year, Dua Lipa used the band's immediately identifiable font in the marketing of her supposedly Britpop-inspired album, Radical Optimism. Some have speculated that one motivation for a lucrative reunion might be Noel's recent divorce from his second wife, Sarah McDonald, in a settlement reported to cost around £20 million. Yeah, that was my original theory. Sounds like somebody needs some money. Time to go on tour, because you can only cash in that reunion tour once. Because after the first 16 long reunion, you can't do. You have to wait another 16 years, another 20 years. You have to wait. So, gotta cash out now.
It's hard. Yep. Plus, you gotta go find all those old roadies you used to tour with.
Yeah. But this day in history, I guess.
All right, this day in history. Of course, we discussed this earlier in the one that didn't record. Oasis was the next Beatles of the 90s, after I think it was Squeeze, which nobody probably has heard of these days. Squeeze was probably the Beatles of the 80s, and the Beatles of the 70s was Electric Light Orchestra, which was actually a very successful band, and John Lennon called them Beatles Jr. And Jeff Lynne of Electric Light Orchestra went on to record with George Harrison. So he definitely had the Beatles sound down, produced a lot of George Harrison's records. So Oasis was just the latest flavor of the month Beatles. Next Beatles of the 90s. But they fizzled out because they didn't get along with each other. They
didn't get rid of their family drama, exactly.
Yeah, whatever. They just seemed like a couple of wankers to me. Use a British term. A couple of wankers, just, we don't like each other. We're going to forget all of our musical chops and get back down to our grudges. This day in history, in 1776, during the American Revolution, British forces under William Howe defeated George Washington and the American Continental Army in the Battle of Long Island, which the United States was losing the war at this point. So they gave up on Long Island and went somewhere else to fight. 1859 in this day, Edwin Laurentine Drake struck oil while drilling in Titusville, Pennsylvania, becoming the first driller of productive oil well in the United States. There's oil gushing. There's a gusher. 1908, American politician Lyndon Baines Johnson was born. He was the 36th president of the United States. 1928, the Kellogg-Braid Pact, has nothing to do with cereal, was signed between France and the United States in a series of peacekeeping efforts after World War I, 10 years after World War I, really didn't succeed. France and the United States signed it, so I guess they never went to war again since then with each other.
Yeah.
1939, on this day, engineer Ernst Haenkel's HE-178, a turbojet-powered aircraft, made the first jet flight. So the era of jet travel began on this day in 1939, roughly 85 years ago.
Breaking the sound barrier.
1964. No, it wasn't a sound barrier. It was just jet flight. The sound barrier was broke until like the 60s or 50s. On purpose. I'm sure somebody broke the sound barrier as their jet just went out of control and they died. That possibly happened. But surviving the sound barrier didn't happen until much later.
Yeah, it's a bit different.
1964. Yeah, surviving the sound barrier. A little bit more difficult. Mach 1, as they call it. The musical film Mary Poppins was released in this day in 1964. It's made Julie Andrews a star, became a Disney classic. In 1979, Louis Mountbatten, the uncle of King Charles, first Earl Mountbatten of Burma, was assassinated by bombers of the Provincial Irish Republican Army who placed a bomb on his boat, which was in Donegal Bay, Ireland. 2008, Democratic politician Barack Obama became the first African American to be nominated for presidency of either major party. He later defeated Republican John McCain to win the office 16 years ago. In 2011, after causing extensive damage to various Caribbean islands, Hurricane Irene made landfall in the United States, striking North Carolina's Outer Banks before moving along the eastern seaboard. Property damage in the United States exceeded $7 billion, making Irene one of the most expensive Atlantic hurricanes in the country's history. Yeah, Irene, I remember it went through here, dumped a lot of rain. You might remember it. 2011.
We had no school for like 2 weeks or something.
Late August, all the power was out for like 5 days. Our featured event, 1576, the death of Titian. Titian, the greatest Italian Renaissance painter of the Venetian school, who was apparently from Venice. Venice, not Venus, who was once described as the sun amidst the small stars, not only among the Italians, but all the painters in the world. Died on this day in 1576. Our feature biography of Mother Teresa doesn't list her birthday, but it says she was born September 5th, 1997 in Calcutta, India, but she probably was born, 80 years before that. In August, I'm imagining. Otherwise, why would we be remembering her in August? Maybe they just want to remember her and they don't know when she was born. But anyway, Mother Teresa. Other birthdays, 1890, Man Ray, American photographer and painter. Ed Gein, American serial killer. Again, Britannica.
Why are we celebrating serial
killers?
Yeah.
This special birthday cake for your serial killer friends. I don't know. But Ed Gein, who is two famous horror movies were made. Probably the most famous one ever made, Psycho, was made about Ed Gein. And also Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Probably a few other ones. All your slasher movies have Ed Gein to thank.
Yep.
So I guess buy him a cake. I don't know. 1908 is the birthday of Don Bradman, an Australian cricketer. And 1961 is the birthday of American fashion designer Tom Ford. Tom Ford. What day is it? It's National Peach Day. So go and eat a peach. Eat a peach, as Allman Brothers.
And let it drip down your chin, because that's what always happens to me. I chew it and it all goes all down my chin.
Yeah. I think eat a peach is another way to say shut the fuck up.
Go eat a peach.
Eat a peach. Eat a peach. It's a title of a Allman Brothers band album, one of the first ones. Eat a peach. National Pots de Crème Day, which looks like these French dessert, which is some kind of a shortcake of some type in a really long, small cylinder with cream on top. Looks good. And it's National Just Because. And just because it's August 27th, 2024 on Before Coffee. Well, I'm sorry, Before Peaches.
Before Peaches. All right,
Just
this has been Allison here from the Netherlands, who hopefully we will not have technical issues tomorrow. Maybe I guess I'll reset my computer before we start Before Coffee tomorrow, just in case. And tomorrow will be
music.
Yeah. Tomorrow will be Wacky and Weird Wednesday, where we're gonna take out our folk band and I'll take my ocarina out and we're gonna have a concert. We're gonna sing about running through the meadows, chasing after centaurs or something. So don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notification bells.
Weird stories tomorrow, including another RFK weird story.
Yeah, we've already got our stories for tomorrow. We already got the weird news going. So don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when we go live and post a video. And take care out there. Here is our mic drop moment.
I come from Manchester, in England.
From the planet Earth.
My name's Noel.
Well, they remind me of Spinal Tap, the way they talk.
Scientific Creation Records. We have one single out. It's called Supersonic.
It's close to 11.
It's a good little number.
It's a good little number.
good little number. He's trying to sound like John
I
Lennon.
don't
here.
remember.
We played rock and roll music for the kids.
About everyday things and about nothing.
Like, where is he
About being
looking?
alive
He's
and
being
having a good time.
interviewed, and he's like, "Let me look out the
About being
window."
happy, about enjoying yourself.
And then about
And wear
being sad,
sunglasses indoors.
You know what I mean?
About
But
At
no,
least,
no, you can get
at least
that.
he's wearing
Everything
colored
about-
sunglasses. You can
No,
still see his
observing
eyes, but he's
what's
like
going on
straight
around
up,
you
just
and
like
writing about it.
black.
And just saying,
Uh-huh.
all you need is cigarettes and alcohol.
all you need is love. That's what you're supposed to say. All you need is love.
Yeah. Oasis, the British grunge band.
Yeah.
All the
What
Stone
do British
Ponies,
people have
I
to be
think, was another
grungy
one.
about? They're not even in a heroin pandemic or something. As far as I know.
Definitely,
Maybe they were.
Immediate plans are to go and up there and do the gig tonight, and then go and do Glastonbury. That's about it, really. Hopefully,
doing
Man City will win
Glastonbury.
the English Premier League division next year, and Oasis will have a #1.
Maybe he's wearing sunglasses because he's super high. He's just like completely high off
Big
his mind.
Manchester United fan.
When we seen the Stone Roses, we thought, yeah, well, we can do that.
And
We
he's
can be in
already
a
been-
band.
he has already
The
been
Stone
doing it.
Roses, I can do that.
We just thought, well, if they can do it, we can do it.
I can strum a bass. I can do that.
There are
That's
only two
right.
bands in Manchester.
Us.
One
Who did
was
they-
in the studio trying to record a second album. However long that'll take them, I don't know. And the other band is us. There isn't any more bands left.
There's only two bands in
No one
Manchester.
even really wants to get into
Yeah.
bands no more.
Nobody
Rather
forms
be-
bands anymore.
The main thing, the main kind of like thing to be in Manchester is a DJ.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.